Annie Constable posted this. This is immediately after the news dropped on the WNBPA's proposal. Statement from a WNBA spokesperson regarding the union's latest proposal. Now check this out. Here's a direct quote. The Players Association latest proposal remains unrealistic and would cause hundreds of millions of dollars of losses for our teams.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in losses. That's what the WNBA owners just put in writing, publicly calling out the players' union for what they're calling an unrealistic proposal. And they didn't wait days or even hours to respond. This statement dropped less than 2 hours after the union submitted their latest offer on February 6th. That's not negotiation posturing. That's a line in the sand.
This literally in the last video when I did not know anything that the WNBA owners said. I didn't need to. I looked at what you guys put down in writing myself and said, this is nonsense. This is not realistic. This is not going to work. It was easy and simple to see this was not going to work. And the WNBA owners are letting it be known literally.
The timing tells you everything. The Players Association submitted their proposal late Tuesday afternoon, seeking 25% of total league revenue in year one, plus housing, plus maternity benefits, plus a laundry list of other demands. Before the sun set, the owners had already drafted, approved, and released their response. One unified voice from all 12 franchises saying the same thing: we're done playing games, and here's why that matters. The WNBA has 2 drafts scheduled, free agency waiting to open, and training camps set to begin in just weeks. Every day without a deal pushes the league closer to the unthinkable, a lockout that would cancel the 2025 season entirely.
You guys are not being realistic. You got Natasha Cloud going on all these rants, all of this stupid stuff going on. You're not even sending legitimate offers, and the owners are calling you guys out for it. The Players Association latest proposal remains unrealistic and will cause hundreds of millions of dollars of losses for our teams. We still need to complete 2 drafts and free agency before the start of training camp and are running out of time. We believe the WNBA's proposal, the WNBA's proposal would result in a huge win for.
Let's break down what the union actually proposed, because the numbers reveal why owners responded so aggressively. 25% revenue share in year one would translate to approximately a $9.5 million salary cap. That's more than triple the current cap. And remember, the WNBA just completed a season where only a handful of teams operated profitably, even with record attendance driven almost entirely by one player, Caitlin Clark. The owners aren't just rejecting the proposal, they're publicly labeling it unrealistic. That's significant language in labor negotiations. It signals they view this offer as so far outside reasonable parameters that it doesn't warrant serious discussion.
For your babe, all types of stuff, okay? The owners feel like they have laid a quality deal on the table in good faith, and the WNBPA are being greedy. That's not just what the owners feel. We've had players come out in interviews and say they feel like the WNBPA are being greedy. We've had players come out and say they don't want a lockout. They can't afford a lockout. They don't want this to happen.
Now contrast that with what the league already put on the table. The owners' February 6th proposal included substantial salary increases, continued housing stipends, full maternity benefits including salary protection, childcare support, and guaranteed contracts for pregnant players preventing trades. By any historical standard in the WNBA, that's a significant package. But the union countered with demands that would require the league to operate at massive losses, banking entirely on future growth that may or may not materialize. And here's the uncomfortable reality: that growth in 2024 wasn't spread evenly across the league. It was concentrated around specific teams and specific players.
Co-founders of a competitor league unrivaled, as Natasha Cloud explained it to be a competitor league, all while Nafisa Collier, husband, tries to deny it. We've had Sophie Cunningham come out and say that they are a conflict of interest. All of this nonsense has been going on nonstop, and the owners wasted no time in this response. They didn't let days linger on. They didn't even let 2 hours go by. Not even 2 hours.
The viewership data exposes the problem with the union's negotiating position. When Caitlin Clark's season ended, WNBA playoff viewership dropped by more than 55%, not gradually over weeks, immediately. That's not sustainable leverage for demanding 25% of revenue when one player's absence cuts your audience in half, and the Players Association leadership knows this. That's why you've seen anonymous player interviews in recent weeks expressing concern that the union is overplaying its hand. One player told reporters that older veterans are being greedy, trying to cash in before they retire, without considering the long-term health of the league or the younger players who will have to live with whatever deal gets signed.
Is the money we're offering, you guys aren't making it unrivaled. Project B is only taking 66 players, not 66 WNBA players, 66 players from around the world. Maybe there'll be 10, 12 WNBA players, maybe. It's a lot of people that aren't getting Project B money. There's a lot of players who aren't getting unrivaled money. Y'all being selfish right now. And that is why a player said it in an anonymous interview, that you guys are being greedy, you guys are being selfish, and they don't feel you're looking out for the best interests of the players.
The conflict of interest issue adds another layer of complexity. Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier sit on the union's executive committee as board members. They're also co-founders of Unrivaled, a 3-on-3 league that Natasha Cloud herself described as a competitor to the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham publicly questioned whether they can fairly negotiate a WNBA deal while building a rival product. That matters, because Unrivaled pays select players 6-figure salaries for a condensed season. Only 66 roster spots exist, and not all go to WNBA players. Meanwhile, Stewart and Collier are negotiating on behalf of 144 WNBA players, most of whom will never see unrivaled money. The incentive structure creates questions about whose interests are actually being prioritized.
Alicia Clark won't be around for the next CBA. Nneka Ogwumike probably won't be in the league for the next CBA. A lot of these older players won't be around to cash in on the next CBA, so they are trying to get every little red cent right now. WNBA owners calling out the nonsense. Calling out the nonsense. They feel they have put a fair offer on the table. You guys are playing games right now.
Project B adds to the alternative league landscape, planning to roster 66 players globally, with only a fraction coming from the WNBA. These ventures pay well for the elite tier, but they do nothing for the majority of union members who depend entirely on WNBA salaries. Yet the union's negotiating strategy seems designed to extract maximum short-term money, even at the risk of a lockout that would devastate players without alternative income sources. The anonymous player interviews reflect this divide. Veterans like Alyssa Thomas and Nneka Ogwumike, who are near retirement, won't be around for the next CBA negotiation in 7 or 8 years. They're pushing for immediate gains. Younger players, who'll spend their entire careers under this agreement, are reportedly more concerned about long-term stability.
To back up any of the things you are asking for. The things you're asking for now, you didn't ask for it in 2020, 2021, 2022. You couldn't get it. 2023. All of a sudden, 2024 happened. Caitlin Clark happened. And now you guys are walking around with your chest puffed out. And y'all want all this money, all while pushing all the fans that she brought to the table away by calling them racist, calling them all types of things. You guys starting fake investigations. You guys pushing people away. You guys are getting mad when fans boo the opposing players. You guys have done everything to push people away, all while wanting these owners to feel confident in giving you more money, believing you can still put these same very people that you disrespect and push away. You want them to believe you'll still put them in seats. Meanwhile, one player went down and you lost more than 55% of the viewership. It's got to make sense for the owners, too. The owners are letting it be known. This 27.5%, $9.5 million cap that these players are talking about would still result in us losing hundreds of millions of dollars. And we're not doing it. Get down in the comments.
Here's what makes the owners' response particularly significant. They're not just rejecting the proposal. They're doing it publicly, with unified messaging, and they're framing it in terms of financial reality rather than negotiating tactics. That statement about hundreds of millions in losses isn't hyperbole. It's math. The WNBA's revenue streams in 2024 included the new media rights deal worth $2.2 billion over 11 years, approximately $200 million annually. Sponsorships added roughly $60 million, ticket sales, merchandise, and other sources contributed another $40 to $50 million. Total revenue, roughly $300 million for the 2024 season. 25% of $300 million is $75 million going to player salaries. Add in the operational costs of running 12 franchises, travel, facilities, coaching staffs, front office personnel, marketing, and you're looking at total league expenses exceeding $500 million annually. The math doesn't work, not even close. The owners know the union understands this. That's why they responded so quickly and so forcefully. They're calling out what they view as bad faith negotiating. The union submitted a proposal they knew was financially impossible, likely as a public relations move to make the owners look unreasonable when they reject it. But the owners didn't wait. They immediately labeled it unrealistic and refocused attention on their own proposal, which they describe as a huge win for current players and generations to come. That phrasing is deliberate. It positions the league's offer as generous and forward-thinking, while framing the union's counter as short-sighted and financially reckless. The timeline pressure intensifies everything. The WNBA draft is scheduled for April. Free agency needs to open in late February or early March. Training camps begin in April. Without a CBA in place, none of that happens. Players don't get paid. Teams can't plan rosters. Sponsors start questioning their investments. The entire 2025 season hangs in the balance. And here's the part that should worry everyone. The owners sound willing to let it happen. That statement doesn't read like a negotiating position. It reads like a warning. They've made what they consider a fair offer. The union countered with something the owners view as absurd. Now we're at an impasse, and the owners are publicly stating they're running out of patience. Adam Silver said the NBA was in the 11th hour when discussing these negotiations. Based on this exchange, we're well past that. We're in the 12th hour, possibly the final minutes, and neither side is blinking. The fan perspective gets lost in all this. The 2024 season brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA, driven largely by Caitlin Clark's rookie campaign. Attendance records fell across the league. Television ratings hit all-time highs. Corporate sponsors lined up with checkbooks open. The momentum was real and building, but that momentum required the product to be available. A lockout canceling the 2025 season would devastate the goodwill built over the past year. Casual fans who tuned in to watch Clark aren't going to wait around through a labor dispute. They'll move on to other sports, other entertainment options, and getting them back in 2026 would require starting from scratch. The Players Association seems to be betting that the owners won't risk that. They're assuming the league needs the 2025 season more than the players do, so the owners will eventually cave to avoid a lockout. But the owners' rapid, forceful response suggests they've done the math differently. They may have concluded that accepting an unsustainable deal would cause more long-term damage than absorbing one lost season. Think about it from the ownership perspective. They just invested in expansion franchises in San Francisco, Portland, and Toronto, paying $50 million fees per team. That's $150 million in new capital flowing into the league, based on projections of continued growth. If they lock themselves into a CBA that guarantees massive annual losses, those expansion investments lose value immediately. Better to take the short-term pain of a canceled season, reset expectations, and negotiate from a position of financial reality. That's cold business calculation. But it's rational from an ownership standpoint, and the speed of their response suggests that's exactly the path they're prepared to take if necessary. The union's strategy appears built on the assumption that the Caitlin Clark effect is permanent and transferable, that the ratings, attendance, and revenue growth of 2024 will continue regardless of circumstances. But the 55% viewership drop after Clark's season ended directly contradicts that assumption. The growth was real, but it was also fragile and concentrated. So where does this leave us? The owners have drawn their line. The union has made their position clear. Training camps are 8 weeks away, and both sides seem willing to let this play out publicly rather than quietly compromise behind closed doors. The next move matters enormously. If the union comes back with a revised proposal that acknowledges financial reality, there's still time to salvage the season. But if they double down on the 25% demand, viewing the owner's rejection as a negotiating tactic rather than a genuine red line, we're headed for a lockout that could fundamentally damage the league's trajectory just as it was finally gaining mainstream traction. Who blinks first? Do the owners cave to avoid losing the momentum of 2024? Or does the union recognize they've overplayed their hand and accept a deal that's generous by historical standards, even if it's not everything they demanded? Because right now, With both sides dug in and the clock ticking down, the 2025 WNBA season is genuinely in jeopardy. And the biggest loser in all of this? The fans who finally started paying attention, only to potentially watch the whole thing collapse over a labor dispute driven by unrealistic financial demands and stubborn negotiating positions on both sides. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are the players being greedy, or are the owners refusing to invest in growth? Because this is about to get a lot worse before it gets better.